If UCF expects to win this Saturday in Manhattan, they've got to be more explosive.
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you so much for making Locked On UCF your first listen of every single day. Turn us up, turn us on, turn it out. I'm here with my good friend, James Duncan, UCF sports commentator extraordinaire, to talk a little UCF football. On today's show, we're going to talk about the need to be for explosive. I'm talking about the need for speed. We're going to talk about third down defense. UCF has got to get off the field on third downs. And then we're going to end the segment talking quarterback as always, because he, quite frankly, is the really surprise bright spot in all this for Scott Frost and McKenzie Milton. Let's start at the top here. UCF needs explosive plays, James. Look, if you're going to win on the road in the Big 12, particularly in Manhattan, which is a really tough place to go play, I don't care if Kansas State is over on the season. I don't care that they're 1-3. I care that UCF plays to their potential, and that means creating explosive plays in the passing game with Tayven Jackson and this set of wide receivers. Duane Thomas Jr. is the guy that I'm looking at. And credit to you, my friend. You told us all before the season started that Dwayne Thomas would be a dude. He's been a guy, I expect that he's going to have a big day on Saturday in Manhattan and help UCF stay in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's got killer speed. And that's what you need for explosive plays. You need speed and you need vision. And I think the guy's got both. Plays a lot in the slot. He's had opportunities on jet sweeps and like little triple option areas. I think he's going to get the ball quite a bit. I think they're going to look to feed him. Last game, not really any big explosive plays, not a ton of deep shots, not a ton of breakthroughs, but just very calculated, methodical drives. And that's okay when you're at home. It's okay to have methodical drives when you're at home. And it's okay to have those in an away game too, but explosive plays get the crowd going when you're at home, and they shut the crowd up when you're away. And let me tell you, Manhattan, not an easy place to play. You're going to want to shut that crowd up big. You're going to want to have big explosive plays to quiet them down so you can get your offense and defense going. Creating explosive plays and limiting explosive plays on the other side is going to be equally as important, Mike.
Yeah, Tayven Jackson has taken 11 shots downfield so far this season. Those are passes of 20 yards or more, James. He's connected on 4 of them. I'd like to see that number a little better. Now, we know these are lower percentage throws. 1 of 3 deep outside left, 1 of 5 deep middle, 2 of 3 deep outside right. But he's also had a few drops. So I know Marcus Burke dropped a big one, which he came back a couple plays later, and Duane Thomas ended up making the play for him. But if you're Tayven Jackson, you've got to trust your receivers. Scott Frost raved about this group of receivers. And look, I mean, in the absence of is it fair to say that the run game has been a little disappointing so far through 3 games? Like,
it's been underwhelming for sure.
It's been underwhelming, right? Yeah. And so you can make up for that a little bit with these explosive plays. If teams have to play you honest deep, it could back those linebackers back a little bit, back the defense back a little bit, and then give Myles Montgomery and Jay Nixon room to roam.
Yeah, you definitely need to show what you can do in the air, and I think UNC was a perfect showcasing of that. Run game wasn't working, so you open it up, you air it out, and they put up a lot of yards in the air. They put up as many as they needed to because the defense constantly gave them good field position. But there was if you go look at the game script, I don't know what the percentage was, but I feel like usually the percentage of run is a lot higher than it is pass. And for this pass game, it felt like the opposite. It felt like passing was definitely what was working, and it felt like it was almost an even split or maybe even more in favor of the pass. I think now that they've shown they can do it in the air, it might cause people, especially defenses, come Big 12 play, to respect that a little bit because they know that it's there. He is going to take your short and medium shots. He's going to take a couple long balls here and there, but his main game is in the short and medium areas, and that is going to open it up for the run game. If you can get some deep balls to connect here at Kansas State, I think it's just going to open up the run game even more.
Yeah, they've got to protect Tayven Jackson. That's for sure. Right now, he's got a protection rate of 76.2%. That is his kept clean rate. This is an advanced stat that PFF keeps James. The percentage of his dropbacks that they keep him clean, 76.2%. Which leaves 23.8% under pressure. Now, to give you an example of whether that's good or not, Sawyer Robertson was the second most protected quarterback in the Big 12 last year at a 23% under pressure rate. So this is, look, I know the offensive line has left a lot to be desired, but part of that is that Tayven's been working really well in the pocket. And knowing how to kind of get on the move and manipulate the pocket and manipulate pressure some, and then keeping his eyes downfield to be able to take those deep shots. He's 72.6% when kept clean. This is a really important stat. But one of the more surprising stats that I think UCF fans need to keep an eye on when he's under pressure so far this season, 60% completion percentage.
That's pretty solid.
It is more than solid. It is phenomenal. Look, Marcel Reed, for example, at Texas A&M, he's like 30% under pressure. Dynamic playmaker, but when you put the pressure on him, it's not very accurate. So if he's going to need to handle pressure on the road versus Kansas State, I think this is a stat that bodes well for UCF. If Kansas State gets after him, man, he's 9 of 15 for a TD while under pressure. I like Tayven Jackson in pressure situations.
Oh, yeah. No, me too. I think he's great under pressure, and I think he's also really been able to figure out when he needs to run and when he needs to pass. When under pressure, he's taken a 30-yard run and gotten out of bounds or slid or done what he's needed to do. But also, if he gets out and he's got somebody there, he'll find them. I think he's been phenomenal under pressure. I definitely think this is also something we should talk about in our last segment. But I think him being under pressure or lack thereof of not being under pressure is going to allow us the ability to create explosive plays. I think some explosive plays can come from him being under pressure and having the plays kind of fall apart and him finding a seam or something where he can run through. He's not someone, he's even said it himself, he's not someone where he's claimed he's a runner. We found him running a couple times. I mean, I think he even has led. He was the leading rusher last game against UNC, I believe. He's had a fair couple of games.
Yeah, I agree. Look, man, this is going to be such an interesting test for UCF for their Big 12 opener. It's not Kansas State's Big 12 opener. We saw the mess of a football game that they played against Iowa State in Dublin. Look, man, some things we don't need to take overseas. Keep college football here in the States. We don't need to share everything with everybody, James. But look, UCF needs to share. They need to share some misfortune with Kansas State on third down. Third down defense, we're going to talk about in our next segment. I like what I'm seeing from the Knights here. I hope that it carries over. We'll talk about what they need to do there right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. Please, these players delivered when it matters most. Let's break it down. Who was it that delivered this weekend? It's none other than a guy we're going to talk about later in this segment. It's Tayven Jackson. He delivers in a big way every single time for UCF so far this season, and we hope he'll continue to deliver in Manhattan. And just like Tayven Jackson is going to deliver for UCF, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day, guys. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. You do not want to miss out. Also, want to thank our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. That's right. That's it. A can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Guys, you got to love that, right? It makes every game more exciting when you're watching your team, or just keep an eye on your fantasy lineup. But if you got those free dollars to bet, you are definitely going to like that. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you can get $300. I told you my FanDuel story, right?
I did.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
did.
You did every single time, man.
Brutal.
But I appreciate FanDuel for making that hurt available to me. Just a bad memory will never go away. But hey, look, I'll be back for more punishment on FanDuel certainly this season. Let's jump back into our conversation here. UCF on third downs so far. Getting off the field on third down, getting your offense more opportunities to score, super important. I want to talk about what UCF has done so far versus Jacksonville State. They allowed 3 of 15 on third downs. Not bad.
That's right? Good defense.
Yes, that's pretty damn good defense. Versus North Carolina A&T, 5 of 17 third downs converted. Still pretty good. Versus UNC, 5 of 13. They have not allowed more than 5 third down conversions so far in a single game this season. That is pretty good third down defense. That's something that's going to need to continue for the Knights. That starts with getting after Avery Johnson and making sure that he does not have a chance to get going in this football game. Talk to me about what you're seeing on defense here. There's a lot of guys there that you've highlighted all season long that you like. Those guys play a key factor in UCF having so much success defending third downs.
Yeah, a third down defense is something that changes so much from first and second, because it basically, no matter where you are, it could be anywhere from third and 5 and shorter. It can be run or pass. And that is the thing with third down defense is coaches will purposely save their best play for third down. Because they know that that's where they need it the most. You need your best playmakers on the field, your smartest playmakers on the field, and your fastest playmakers on the field out on third down. Someone that has been phenomenal on third down defense is Phil Dunham and Lewis Carter. Those guys are everywhere. I will also like to make an honorable mention to Cole Kozlowski. The guy's been flying around. Anytime someone made a tackle last game, they would stand up and I would see the number 20. And I was like, oh my gosh, Lewis Carter is everywhere. That is who you need on third down. Third down has typically this year been really solid for us, but we haven't really, in my personal opinion, faced an elite quarterback. Now, I'm not saying Avery Johnson is an elite quarterback, but he is significantly more mobile than the quarterbacks we have played. I would say he's much closer to Jack's State's quarterback, similar in the fact that he is mobile, but also he's probably a better passer and decision maker. The guy's got a lot of talent. He hasn't played phenomenal this year. He's actually played significantly below what the expectations were for him. But on third down, that's where our talent and effort beats out any sort of play calling. And so you have to be a dog on third down, and you got to have your best guys out there. I would look for Lewis Carter, Cole Kaz, all those guys out there to make big stops on third down.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's been a surprisingly good UCF defense. There were a lot of people, including some of my fellow Big 12 hosts, that made fun of the Alex Grinch hire. I didn't think it was a bad hire. I thought it was a great hire, and I thought he was a good fit for what UCF needs right now. But defense makes your job so much easier if you're Scott Frost here in your first year while you're trying to build a team culture. Those guys are different. They're made a little different than your offensive guys. And if you can keep other teams from scoring, it buys you time if you're Scott Frost and McKenzie Milton to bring your quarterback along, get him some more opportunities at the football, and ultimately give him a better chance to develop because he's just not sitting on the sideline cold while the other team runs the ball up and down the field on you. You've got to win time of possession in conference play if you want to win, and it starts with getting off the field on third down, and UCF has just done such a great job. Who do you expect to stand out here on defense headed into Kansas State?
I mean, I would look for Lewis Carter to have another big game. I think he's going to probably lead the team in tackles. I would also look on the edges. Isaiah Nixon got a little nicked up, so you're going to see increased reps from Sincere, Edwards, and Jamal Johnson in the two deep there, and probably increased reps for the ones over there with Nigel Lee Kelly and Malachi Lawrence. I would look for those guys to wreak havoc. Avery Johnson, I believe, just I haven't looked at the stats, and you can check for me while I'm talking, but just from watching tape, he's been under a lot of pressure. I would love to get in that backfield because from the tape that I have watched, when he does get pressured, he makes significantly worse decisions when throwing the football. The turnover battle has been something that UCF has struggled with the past couple years. This year, you've seen a drastic change. They are getting turnovers. They are averaging a turnover plus a game. Jack State with one at the end. NC State, obviously, with a couple fumbles and picks. And then, obviously, UNC with two, nearly three from the pick six from Antoine that got called back, but two picks from one from Nigel Lee. Yeah, two picks. That's exactly what you need. You need to win the turnover battle. And I think that's going to happen, especially when you force a quarterback to make a bad decision on third down.
Yeah, going back to Avery Johnson, his pressure rate right now, 24.6%, which is pretty good.
Pretty solid.
So he's not under a ton of pressure so far, but only 41.9% under pressure. So as I mentioned, those averages take a nosedive. But when kept clean, he's still only 66%. Now, he does have an adjusted completion percentage of 74.6. They have an astounding 11 drops on the season already, does Kansas State.
Wow.
11. So, look, they might help UCF get off the field on third down because I mean, look, at this, there's like a 2 in 10 chance that they're going to just drop it when it's when it's crunch time. Now, there's something else you said that I want to go back to when you talk about third downs. One thing UCF has done a good job of defensively is putting opposing offenses in third and unmanageable, right? So at 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, your entire playbook is open, right? 3rd and 8, it shrinks a little bit. 3rd and 9 and above, and there are not a ton of high success rate plays you run. And if you're UCF and you can put Kansas State in enough of those types of situations, I think you've got a pretty good chance in here. Now, what have they done on third down? Well, Kansas State versus Arizona converted only 3 of 13 third downs. 3 of 13. Versus Army, they were 2 of 9 converting third downs.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Versus the North Dakota Fighting Hawks, which that was a nail biter, 38-35, 5 of 13, which is not as bad as some of the other games And then they were 5 of 13 versus Iowa State in that opener that we referenced in Dublin here. But Army and Arizona, I mean, what a trend down.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in those games, you were a combined 5 of 21 converting third downs, or 5 of 22. I'm sorry. Whew. If you can't, this can't be the game if you're UCF where you let Kansas State get it together on third down.
Don't let them break
down
that
right
streak.
now.
Yeah, don't let them break that streak. You want them to keep screwing up on third down, and I guarantee you some of those are from drops. Because 11 drops on the year is hysterical, especially with them now losing one of their pass catchers that is probably out based off last game. I think this is going to be a tough, hopefully tough game from the Kansas State wide receivers. Definitely not going to be super pass heavy. I don't think. I think this run offense is probably going to be wanting to steal the show for Kansas State. You need UCF to key in on that. Obviously, I think we have good enough playmakers to not have to run a cover 2 or cover 3 every time where you have guys sitting over top waiting for the ball to be delivered. I would definitely look to have more linebacker play in this game than anything else.
Yeah, Duran Bradley is the wide receiver you were referencing there for Kansas State. He is on their injury report, reported to be out for this weekend's matchup versus UCF. Look, a lot of this is gonna come down to quarterback play and how well Tayven Jackson can command this offense in his Big 12 opener. We'll talk about his progression at quarterback right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked on UCF is brought to you by our friends at Mazda. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. That's what they strive for at Mazda. Look, when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And it's just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. We hope that this week's moment that moved the game forward is Tayven Jackson throwing a bunch of touchdowns to Dwayne Thomas Jr. I promise you, UCF fans, that if that happens, UCF's going to have a good day. And Mazda is going to be there to get you home after the game. So, as I mentioned before, just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Let's talk about Tayven Jackson to close today's segment. He is the gift that just keeps on giving. He wasn't the first pick, but he is the guy now. I think he's got a stranglehold on this job. Cam Fancher returned to practice last week. It wasn't even a question. Tayven Jackson went out and performed well. He's 70% on the season is Tayven Jackson, a number that will continue to win you a lot of football games. And when you're completing passes at that clip, you don't need necessarily a high volume of throws to affect the game positively. You just got to hit the plays that are there and protect the football. And I think that's the Tayven Jackson stat that I love the most so far this season. No turnovers.
No turnovers.
Yeah, we're 3 games in and he has not turned the ball over. Protecting the ball on the road will be key. But this is a super win, I think, for Scott Frost in year 1. That this quarterback, you're sitting here at 3-0 with a chance to go 4-0 to start your season. So many people said UCF's not going to make a bowl game, and bam, we're sitting here and they have a chance to be 60% of the way there after 4 games. Talk to me, James, about Tayven Jackson. Is this the McKenzie Milton effect? He was probably the most popular hire that Scott Frost made this offseason. I got to believe that Tayven Jackson's success is in some part due to the tutelage of Scott Frost and McKenzie Milton.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think if you look at his numbers from Indiana, while he was there, had I think 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. In 2023, when he was playing a lot more, he had 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. The following year, played a lot less, obviously. Curtis Rourke had 4 TDs and 1 interception through 3 games, technically only really 2, because he played the second half of Jack State and the first half of NCAA. UNC was only his first real full game of football that he's played at UCF. He's had, 3 touchdowns through the technically 2 games that he's played, no turnovers, no fumbles. He's had 600 plus passing yards, 694 to be exact. He's taken the ball on the ground for a touchdown, or for 3 touchdowns and 72 yards on 20 carries, a lot of those being explosive carries. I think he's just become more poised. And I think that has a lot to do with McKenzie Milton. The guys, it almost is, if you go back and you watch McKenzie Milton film, he's like a point guard, and he plays the position like a point guard. And that is how Tayven is slowly starting to become. I think if you watch the beginning, his first couple snaps against Jack State, you saw a quarterback that kind of wanted to go to his first read every time. And as you watch over the games, he is reading his progressions really well. And like you said, he is taking the play that is there. That is so important. That's why in UNC, you didn't see any explosive plays, because they might not have been there in the point in the read progression when he was there. But he ended up finding somebody. Yeah. And the amount of times that he converted, 3rd down, 4th down, even second down in early game script, like, he was taking the plays that were there and allowing the playmakers to play. And when a quarterback can be kind of the gelling anchor of a system, then that's when your offense runs like a well-oiled machine. Not when you're having to force it to one running back or force it to one wide receiver like we have in previous years. This is running from directly behind center. And that progression can only be attributed to the guys on our staff, because if you look at his Indiana numbers, they're not pretty. And also, Mike, I would just like to let this be known, he's a junior. Still got another year.
Yeah. Draft eligible in 2026. He is. So that's next year. Look, Tayven Jackson, 6'4", 212. He is a guy that nobody saw coming. And this is part of what is so terrible about what happened in Orlando last year. When you're 4-8, everybody overlooks everything about your football team. And I consistently through the offseason said this team was better than their 4-8 record. They had better talent than their 4-8 record. I think the previous coach, his career apathy plagued UCF last year. They bet the farm on KJ Jefferson and then benched him. And then you had freshman and EJ Colson who wasn't ready. And then you had Jacurri Brown, extremely athletic, couldn't throw the ball. Then you had Dylan Risk way down there at 4th string. I actually liked the little guy. I was a Dylan Risk fan, James. I was rooting for him really, really hard. But let's be honest. I mean, when you haven't taken even a second team snap all fall, and suddenly you're thrust into the starting job, that's crazy. Yeah. There was such a low percentage chance he was going to be successful, under those circumstances. And so he transferred out, and you had to bring some guys in. This is where I think the skill of this offensive staff as talent identifiers comes in, because there's a lot out there in the portal, and you got to pick the right guy. And a lot of times if a guy is hitting the portal, they're not your first string guys, man. They're guys who were backups who aren't going to crack the lineup, or they can't see a path to playing time where they're at. And you've got to hope that, depending on where they're coming from, that the last coach just overlooked it. One of the things that I hate, and again, I cover multiple schools, and I hear this from a certain fan base all the time. Do you think that the coach is intentionally playing the worst player? I hate that argument. I think it's such a stupid argument. And it's like, no, I don't think he's intentionally doing it. But are you alleging that no coach ever gets this wrong? They get it wrong all the time. Joe Burrow was number 3 in somebody's quarterback room, man. He might have had the best season that we've seen in college football in like 20 years. A lot of good quarterbacks in there. And yes, I mean, that includes Cam Newton. 60 touchdown passes, man. Come on. I don't care if he had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. 60 touchdowns. Go look at his PFF numbers from that LSU season. And it wasn't perfect, all perfect. James, he got sacked nearly 40 times that season and still put up video game numbers. And somebody looked at him and said, yeah, he's third.
Here's the thing, Mike. And there's definitely a lot of decision making that gets very political. But I will say when it comes to the way that Scott deals with things, I like it a lot more. Because he's like, I'm just going to put the best guy out there. And when they evaluated Cam, they said, this is the most talented guy. This is the guy that we're sure of. You go out there, you get hurt. All right, you roll it the next one.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not about getting it wrong. Like, we have no idea how Cam would have played had he not gotten hit, how he would have done through this game. We don't know how he would have played. If he hadn't gotten hit and gotten knocked out, he could have figured out what was going in the offense. I mean, it took Tayven a little while. I think sometimes people being like, oh, we had this guy in our room the whole time. Where was he? Sometimes those guys don't just emerge. Sometimes they're young. Sometimes they need time to progress. Sometimes they need time to learn. Sometimes those guys don't know what it feels like to get hit by a 300-pound man and knocked on their butt 70 times over.
Yeah, and sometimes, James, they're not always the best practice players.
Yeah.
Right? Not for lack of trying, but there are some dudes who are just gamers. You put them out there, and when the lights are on, they just they flip the switch. Man, Tayven Jackson could have been one of those guys. But just because he didn't win it in practice doesn't mean that he's not the better quarterback. And that's my only point that I've tried to make throughout is that, there's an old saying that says the backup quarterback is always the most popular guy on campus, right? And I don't know, man. I don't know, dude. I just am of the opinion that trying to identify certain intangibles, particularly at quarterback, is not an exact science. And so there's a balance between not giving up on your guy too early and knowing when to pull the plug and give somebody else a shot. Yeah. And the coaches who have won national titles over the last 10 years have gotten it right more often than not. James, Alabama, I think, from 2016 to 2022, probably the greatest run of quarterbacks we've ever seen in college football. Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, Jalen Milroe. Name 5 consecutive better quarterbacks at a single program.
Yeah.
We might be witnessing the end of that run right now as we speak, but I'm telling you, it's really, really hard to find a dude at quarterback. And they may have found one in year 1, which is incredible. UCF fans, that's incredible. That's incredible. Now, this is why I'm looking for this weekend, and we'll close on this. I just want to see a composed Tayven Jackson. I was trying to say poised and composed, and I just put the words together. Composed. I just want to see a composed Tayven Jackson on the road. I want to see him handle the moment. I want to see that the moment is not too big for him. I want to see him hit open guys when they're there, continue to protect the football, make the easy throws, and give UCF a chance to win this football game. They have to win because of you and not in spite of you if you're Tayven Jackson. And that's what I want to see this weekend. That will tell me yes, we're not playing with fool's gold here. This guy was a stud that transferred in, from a Big Ten school and can be a star in the Big 12. Because I'm telling you, there are so many kids understand that beauty is kind of in the eye of the beholder when it comes to a coach finding his quarterback. How many big names in college football started other programs and went someplace else? Even a guy like Quinn Ewers, right? Like, went to Ohio State right out of high school, ended up at Texas, didn't play down at Ohio State before he bolted. He took Texas to the playoffs. So many kids that just all they needed was a chance to do it. Somebody, I mean, and for the last coach, think about it. At his stop prior to UCF, he took a converted DB at quarterback and went to a national title game with them.
Yeah.
And it really is such a fine line, man, in between, just going with the obvious talent or finding what everybody else missed in a kid and giving that kid a chance and the tools to perform at this level. I like that Scott Frost and McKenzie Milton are providing that chance to Tayven Jackson and every quarterback that potentially comes through here. Kane Archer, if you're watching this, son, stick with UCF. Look at what they're doing right now with Tayven. Stick with UCF. And he's like an 80% completion percentage guy. I think he broke the national high school record for completion percentage.
He's ridiculous.
Come on, man. And UCF fans are just like, oh, the better he does, the more someone's going to throw $5 million at him. He's not going to be a Knight anymore. No, I don't think he's not moved by money. I'm not saying there's not a number that couldn't get him to think about another program. But, making Rivals preseason All-American list. And I mean, I can't wait to see him under this staff. And then especially with as well as they did going out and getting wide receivers in the portal, I can't wait to see what tools they're going to give this kid to succeed. It's going to be so much fun to watch. James, final thoughts here, man, before we get out of here. You and I are going to do a pregame show here for Kansas State here. We've been pretty consistent about that. But, give me an early score prediction. I'll let you change it on the pregame, but give me a score prediction here, man. How do you see this one ending?
I think I've got to give it to my Knights. I'm saying we're getting a dub. I think it's going to be hard fought, but I think people are going to score. I think people think we're going to score less than I think we're going to score. I think the line's at 20.5 points for UCF to score in the entire game. I think it's a horrible line. I'm giving us 31.
Yeah, we're going. That's my guy.
I'm giving us 31, but I'm saying it's close. I'm saying Kansas State 28.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, I hear me out. UCF 33, Kansas State 20.
Oof.
I think it's close. I think they get a score late to push it to a 13-point lead. But I like the Knights in this one. I've watched the film on Kansas State. I'm not impressed. Yeah, I think they're a solid football team, but I don't think they're an insurmountable task. I get it. ESPN's matchup predictor giving Kansas State a 56.7% chance to win this football game. I think they missed the mark too. If you're UCF, you've just got a lot of question marks that will no longer be question marks after this game. And you've got to go out and show them why those question marks weren't really question marks to begin with. So, James Duncan, UCF sports commentator, I want to thank you for joining me today to talk a little UCF football, guys. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day. But it's another big moment at Locked On. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along two-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts, a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season and only on Fire TV. Catch us here tomorrow on Locked On UCF.